What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another video from Pink Tourmaline. What a journey this has been the last few months. Learning about Gnosticism, learning about a lot of things that I was unfamiliar with, and now having everything thrown off balance in terms of my worldview, my spiritual view. But we have to keep moving forward. We have to keep going towards the truth, and I'm going to do my best to do that, bearing a couple things in mind as I do so, trying to tread very carefully, not to be too rigid in anything I think or anything I encounter. Going back to that William Bullman speech where he says beliefs are blocks, also recognizing that everything we absorb and analyze and the information that we take in this life is always going to be flawed to some extent. I loved when he said that. Just think that there's always going to be a tinge of bias or some sort of flaw in things that we absorb just by nature of our biology and by nature of the way the world is set up. So I want to tread very carefully, and what I'm hoping is that my journey will illuminate things for other people in ways that are beneficial, and for others, and for myself as well. And we're just going to continue going forward as best we can. But this video is coming back to a video that I made, I think last week or 2 weeks ago. And it was about, I asked the question kind of around the idea of Gnosticism and the way that the world is really built by a Demiurge and built by, it's not this perfect creation that is for us, that is for our glory and all these things. But in fact, maybe we have it backwards, that maybe this is a flawed creation inherently, and the rules are set against this. And while maybe spiritually we all have this deep ingrained desire, because I really believe we all have this deep ingrained desire to be moral and to be kind and to do all these things, yet the rules of the game, whether we talk about the societal infrastructure or we're just talking about the laws of nature, they're kind of set against us. They kind of force us to do things that on some higher level we don't want to do, just in terms of acquiring resources, taking things from other people to some extent, taking opportunities that we want, but then maybe those opportunities that we take deprive others. Just this idea of competition, the idea of food, the way that we have to, the vast majority of us are killing on a daily basis just to eat. And I'm not putting myself on a high horse here. I eat meat. We've just sort of accepted that this is part and parcel of our existence on Earth. But if you really sit down and think about it, that it feels at odds with what I think intrinsically we want to be doing and feeling we should be doing. But those are the rules of the game. We're kind of forced into it. So I started asking these questions along the lines of the Gnostic thoughts. Is the world set up in a way for us to fail? And maybe we feel like we're bad people, or we're conflicted, or we're doing things that we don't want to do, but it's not really us being negative beings or negative entities. It's sort of forced upon us by the way the system is set up. And even if we think we're doing our absolute best, we're still doing things that we at some deeper level don't want to do, or maybe we're just ignoring those realities. These are just questions that I started to ask based on stumbling upon this type of information. Now, as I had these thoughts, I then a few days later came across this video, and it basically calls out exactly what I was saying. And it's very interesting. So I want to play this clip for you guys because I really think it hits the nail on the head and exactly what I was talking about when I did that whole query with ChatGPT, talking about the ways that the entire world, both for the societal laws and the natural laws, are set up to be at odds with what our intrinsic morality tells us we should be doing. And this calls that out exactly. The last thing I'll say before I play this video is there's so many of us that are trying to do good the best we can on this planet, and trying to we all have our own individual causes. There's some people that are fighting for animal rights, helping our beloved dog friends who we care so much about. Other people are trying to fight poverty. Other people are trying to work on civil rights. Other people are just out there trying to make people feel better in hospitals and doing all these things. Like, we all want to, I think, spread positivity. Vast majority of us, okay? The very, very vast. Maybe there are some people that don't fall into that category, but there's very few. I think the vast majority of us we have that spark of God, of the divine, of whatever in us, and we want to do good. But I was thinking about this. We all have our individual causes or things we look at, but What if it's just like the way that a lot of Western medicine works, where it doesn't really get to the root cause, but it's just looking at the symptoms. We see this little injustice or that little injustice, and we try to fix it or remedy it. But ultimately, at its core, just like when we treat symptoms of the body, if the root cause, if it happens to be an issue with nutrition or diet, but we just treat the symptoms, we're never actually going to fix the issue. What if that's the case here? What if the case is we're trying to fix the symptoms and maybe make things better, ameliorate things in particular areas, but ultimately nothing can be fixed because while we fix that there, another problem will emerge just by virtue of the system itself at its core being flawed? What if that's the case? I don't know if it is, but it's an interesting question to ask, especially being that our society has been around so long and we keep having, it seems like in a lot of ways, more problems than we used to have back in the day, way more problems. I mean, our diets and things like that were never this bad. Things seem to be getting out of hand. We're having more deaths per year. You know what I mean? These are just things to think about it. And I didn't think about any of this before. So it's really got me thinking. Anyways, let me play the video. That's enough talking from me. And then we'll chop it up at the end of the video.
When you really sit with it. Look around at the world the Demiurge supposedly created out of love. Does this look like the work of a benevolent, all-knowing deity? We live in a reality defined by scarcity, where resources are hoarded while others starve. We inhabit bodies that decay and die, subject to disease and suffering. We're born into systems that demand we spend most of our lives laboring just to survive, with brief moments of joy scattered between long stretches of struggle and anxiety. This isn't the creation of perfect divine love. This is the flawed handiwork of a limited being who mistakes control for creation, fear for respect. The Demiurge didn't work alone in maintaining this deception. He created the Archons, lesser beings, who serve as his administrators in keeping humanity trapped and ignorant. These entities operate through the very structures we see dominating our world today. Think about how governments function, demanding unquestioning obedience, threatening punishment for those who resist, claiming authority they never truly earned. Consider how organized religions operate, insisting on blind faith, discouraging questions, promising rewards in an afterlife while demanding submission in this life. Even our economic systems mirror this archonic control. We're told that endless competition and scarcity are natural laws, that some must suffer so others can prosper, that questioning these arrangements makes us naive or dangerous. The same patterns repeat across every institution. Hierarchy based on dominance rather than wisdom, rules that benefit the few while constraining the many, and always the message that this is simply how things must.
And that's what it is. It's, even people that I brought this up to was like, listen, man, that's competition. That's life. The ambitious people rise to the top and they do these, and that's where they get to. And that's just how things work. But it's like, I don't know. I ask myself intrinsically, internally, like it just doesn't feel right to me. It hasn't felt right to me. And I'm talking to somebody that lives in the US that has a blessed life. Like I do love my life. I love so many things about it. But I'm one of the lucky ones. But still something has never sat right with me about the way things are structured. Maybe that's part of the journey in this life. I don't know. Maybe we're supposed to go through this as a learning process. I mean, that's kind of what I was thinking before I stumbled upon all this information. That's the narrative that we get from so many NDEs, that this is a school, that this is a lesson, and we're dealing with these lessons and these difficulties to enhance our soul, to upgrade our spiritual energy, to evolve and to grow and to reach a higher vibration. But maybe that's not it. Maybe, we all have that morality in us. Maybe what is making us do these things that we later regret or are ashamed of or feel terrible about, maybe it's the physical design that we inhabit. Maybe it's the things that we are bombarded with on this planet. But if we are released, or when we are released, or if we're just pure consciousness, we don't gravitate towards any of those things. I don't know, man. It's really got me thinking. It's just a lot. But like, you do thinking about the world as a perfect creation, I think has tripped up people for the longest time, wrapping their heads around them. Why is there this? Why is there this pain? Why is there death and dying and hunting and killing and animals eat each other? Like, why does this happen on a continual basis? Like, it's so hard to justify it and rationalize it. But as soon as you switch the framework from it being a benevolent, beautiful, perfect creation to something that is inherently flawed by design to generate negativity, veiled in like this idea that no, we should be great. You know what I mean? Like a lot of these things make a lot more sense. So again, I just wanted to share this with you guys as I'm trying to wrap my head around all of this, and I'm still have no idea where I'm going to end up, but I wanted to share this because I thought it was profound, especially because I was thinking about this exactly last week, and then I stumbled upon this video that's basically saying the exact same thing. The last thing I'll end on is some of the things that are problematic to me, at least at this stage of the whole idea of Gnosticism and the Gnostic text, is like, where are these stories coming from of the Demiurge, of the Archons? Is this just from certain scriptures at Nag Hammadi that were found, and that's where all of this stuff is coming from? And where did those stories come from? Are they just coming from the Gnostic Jesus? Are they coming from other sources? Is there any collaboration across different cultures? And so if it's just solely from these particular scriptures that we're devising this entire story and narrative, well, then we run into the same issues that I've always had with a lot of mainstream religions. We're relying on these particular texts that maybe we can't necessarily validate or corroborate, and then we're building narratives around these very specific texts, but like without discriminate without like a discriminating body of saying, like, let's look at these analytically. How do we distinguish between the validity of like the Quran versus the traditional Bible versus the Gnostic Bible? Like, what are we doing? We're just buying into something for the sake of buying into it, and that's always been my issue with falling in line with a lot of these traditional mainstream religions. The thing that I liked about the NDE stuff is because there's so many cases that corroborate in a lot of ways, and they're people that are alive right now and can tell you exactly what happened, as opposed to just relying on something written down or translated or things like that. And so I was like, man, this really seems to shed a lot of light on this question that I thought was unanswerable. And now we have the curveball that maybe these are just manipulations. Like, dude, it's just so much information to process. And the idea that the thing that I thought was now the saving grace, the key to actually unlocking some truth here, is actually intentionally, potentially misinformation like this. It's just so wild. And so that's where I'm at. Like I said, this is you seeing me in real time process this information, trying to figure it out. And I'm at the very, very beginning, but I'm here for it if you guys are as well. If you guys are new subscribers or been subscribed for a little bit of time, please give me more guidance. Tell me more things to read. I just bought a couple more books that I'm about to dive into as soon as I finish Leaving the Trap. And you guys are helping me actually so much, because it's because of you guys that I even stumbled upon a lot of this information that I'm analyzing now. So please comment below and let me know what you're thinking of the channel. Thank you guys so much for joining, and we will see you in the next video. Take it easy.